the Pokemon that really stands out to me on Reis' team, and the Pokemon that I think he was thinking about, is probably going to be that Shadow Steelix.
Yeah, Shadow Steelix is a Pokemon that has a lot of really nice resistances, obviously due to its typing, both from a steel and ground perspective. It's going to dominate a lot of Pokemon. You know, look at Guzzlord, for instance, that's singularly relying on the resisted Dragon Tails, and of course maybe a Crunch that you can get here or there. But what Reis has on his Steelix is the Breaking Swipe, which can be so impactful. I don't know if Doonebug's going to be able to bring this Guzzlord too much. We're moving right in here, so if this is losers finals, win or go home at this point. And a dominating lead for Doonebug has the Dugong into the jump left for Reis2Occasion. Reis pivots out to the Shadow Drapion and is able to reach a Crunch prior to Doonebug getting to a charge attack.
Yeah, Doonebug is just staying in for now. Doesn't have a great answer to Drapion. He really just has Jumpluff and his own Drapion in the back. One Ice Shard and throws the Icy Wind. Gotta start dropping the attack of this Drapion.
Yeah, absolutely. Icy Wind rather comes through. Does get shielded by Reis2Occasion. Doonebug's still in a bit of an awkward swap, but opts to swap out into his own Jumpluff. Hard to bring in your own Drapion when you are still in double Aqua Tail range. Now with this debuff, however, Doonebug may want to just simply soak up these crunches and try to land in acrobatics.
Yeah, and I think for Doonebug, you probably want switch advantage here, just so that you can get the Drapion on the Steelix. That being said, Dugong does have some counterplay with that Drill Run, and Doonebug has also kind of trapped the Jumpluff on Reis' side.
A really interesting...
Big bait there, yeah.
Interesting throw, because he was not at the Crunch, but realistically, Doonebug was going to be throwing that acrobatics, so you are getting a little bit of free damage there with that Aqua Tail. A lot of anticipation by Reis, but it worked out pretty nicely for him. He actually has a little bit more, a little bit of some extra chip there, and sets up a very healthy farm down now for the Shadow Steelix.
All right, acrobatics coming through. We've seen it land from an Emolga on a Steelix. I'm not sure whether we've seen it come from a Jumpluff. Still does quite a bit of damage. Steelix at just about 55% health there, and able to throw a Breaking Swipe onto Doonebug's Drapion.
Yeah, the Steelixes that are running Crunch and Psychic Fangs really struggle against these Drapions, but when you have access to Breaking Swipe, it has pretty solid base attack, and look, there, that 50% chance to drop your opponent's attack as well, looking very strong now. Now, that said, Doonebug does pivot out to his own Drapion. This is going to be a pretty heavy-hitting Crunch into this Shadow Jumpluff here. Brings it to about half HP.
That's right. Well, attack coming through from the Jumpluff, and Doonebug is letting it go, maybe hoping he can just farm down with his own Dugong, but his Drapion actually hangs on, going to be doing a couple more Poison Stings, and able to reach a Crunch and throws it at just the last second.
Reis preserving this Shadow Steelix is going to be problematic for Doonebug. Realistically, this Shadow Steelix, as long as it has a Protect Shield to hide behind, still has a lot of play. Quick swap, though, into the Dugong, and actually is able to remove the Shadow Jumpluff off the field. It is now just the Steelix for Reis2Occasion. He's going to have to try to Thunder Fang all the way down and launch a couple of charge attacks, but there are still 3 Pokemon to get through.
And this is just an Icy Wind coming through. It is going to permanently debuff this Steelix, but I don't know if Doonebug has any energy remaining on his other Pokemon. He has 2 other Pokemon, but they're incredibly low. I have to imagine that those Thunder Fangs are really going to add up quickly.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised Reis is throwing energy. I was thinking maybe he's just going to simply try to farm all the way down. Doonebug, I think, recognizing that he has to use Protect Shield somewhere, I think he might just get farmed down everywhere. I think that he has to reach an Acrobatics if he's going to have any sort of chance to knock out the Steelix.
I think you're exactly right, but he doesn't have any energy on this Jumpluff. I think it's just going to get Thunder Fanged down. He is able to reach an Aerial Ace.
Is there any energy on this Drapion at all?
I mean, if there was energy, wouldn't he have just come in with that and thrown the Aqua Tail?
Well, I don't think so, but let's find out right here. There was a little bit, but not enough. Only 1 Poison Sting, needed 3 more. Fainted to 1 Thunder Fang. Game number 1 is going to go to Reis2Occasion. Continues that hot streak.
All right, well, I think the Shadow Steelix is really what Doonebug has to watch out for in this matchup. He actually went kind of ABA weak to the Steelix with the Dugong in the lead and the Jumpluff in the back. He correctly called that the Steelix wouldn't be in the lead, but still didn't have an answer to that safe switch Drapion on Reis' side.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. So, right, you have that great lead for Doonebug with the Dugong into the Jumpluff, but what do you do when that Drapion comes in? You can't bring in your own Drapion. You're behind in energy. You'll lose that even shield matchup. Do you bring in your own Jumpluff? No, that's not a good answer. So you have to stay in with the Dugong, either absorb and charge attack, maybe try and get a shield, but also use the shield, then bring in your Drapion. The problem is the Drapion is still in 2 Aqua Tail range, so you really haven't done anything with your Dugong. It's just a very awkward spot, and I anticipate Doonebug to rebuild his team to have a better answer to Drapion in the next match.
Yeah, maybe the Guzzlord, which of course absorbs the energy from Drapion very well. we could potentially see the Fortress as well, but obviously it's just so risky when you know that Reis is going to be bringing that Steelix every single game. I feel like if Doonebug wants to counter the Steelix Drapion core that Reis is probably going to be relying on through this best-of-5 series, the Guzzlord might be the answer.
Well, I know Doonebug loves this Guzzlord. Like I said, it was the last Pokemon that he locked in his team, and I actually got a chance to look at it. It's a very heavily defense-weighted Guzzlord as well, which helps out with certain break points and bolt points as well. So some situations where, hey, I can tank 2 of these charge attacks, now you can tank 3 of these charge attacks, or maybe I take less damage from the fast attacks. He really, really, really likes this Guzzlord.
Yeah, you mentioned the Breaking Swipe moveset on Reis's Steelix. A lot of the times when they go battle, you see something like Psychic Fang's Crunch, Psychic Fang's Earthquake, but that Breaking Swipe actually means it's going to be able to hit back against the Guzzlord.
Yeah, it's better versus the Drapion as well, for sure. So I'm curious to see if he's going to be bringing it again in game number 2. All right, we are here in the losers finals, currently 1-0 Reis2Occasion. It is the Guzzlord, and it finds its target in the Shadow Drapion. Reis2Occasion quickly swaps into his Steelix.
And this is exactly what Doonebug needs. Again, not really a great answer for Steelix anywhere on his team, but Guzzlord might be his best shot. Breaking Swipe coming through from Reis first, though.
A little curious that we didn't see a Crunch get thrown. Maybe Doonebug wanting to just absorb all this energy, then swap out. I think he's going to want to throw at least 1 Crunch to start, though. No, opts to instead go into the Drapion. And again, Reis2Occasion does have charge attacks to throw into it. Already has the Breaking Swipe loaded and ready to go. This is double Aqua Tail range now for the Shadow Steelix.
50% chance of getting an attack drop. Doesn't get it this time. He did get it on the Guzzlord, which is potentially why Doonebug decided to switch out. But like you said, double Aqua Tail range, and I think Doon actually does have back-to-back Aqua Tails banked right now.
Yeah, you win charge attack priority here, so even if Reis does throw this Breaking Swipe, assuming Doonebug throws his as well, yes, charge attack priority, the Shadow Drapion will win. Reis2Occasion, what he recognizes here is, I'm not going to get fast attack down. If I want to, I can force alignment here. Now that I've chipped away some of this health, I can throw this Breaking Swipe, hope for maybe a debuff, but if I have to, Thunder Fang all the way down. There's no way that Doonebug is going to be able to reach 2 more Aqua Tails.
All right, Breaking Swipe coming through and does get the attack fall, but I think 1 Aqua Tail is still going to be enough to take it out. Reis actually goes for a catch on his own Drapion though, which is actually very nice for him. And now that the clock is up for Doonebug, I expect to see him maybe come back into his Guzzlord.
Yeah, and look at the HP on this Guzzlord as well. While you do have all of this energy, you're now in range where you're threatened to be knocked out by Poison Stings and a Crunch. Doonebug will be able to get a lot of value here. He has 2 Dragon Claws ready to go, and I think the second Dragon Claw actually will knock out. He's able to throw on good timing if he wants as well.
Yeah, looks like Reis just reached an Aqua Tail, but he's just going to let his Drapion go down. But actually, Doonebug with a little bit of an undercharge here, maybe hoping to get some farm with his Dugong.
That's a beautiful undercharge.
Or with his Guzzlord,
no, that's a beautiful undercharge. You get 1 additional Dragon Claw. You're that much closer getting to that next charge attack. You can actually throw on good timing here. Oh, actually 3 turn versus 3 turn. You do get to this Crunch, though. Heavier hitting, a little bit more damage, and has a chance for a debuff as well. Without that additional Dragon Tail there, may have not been able to reach that. It's a good play.
Reis's Dugong has been significantly chipped by those Dragon Tails and that Crunch. Remember, he still has the Steelix in the back to potentially clear an Icy Wind debuff, and that Steelix has at least 4 Thunder Fangs on it.
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly 4. I think he caught right away. So, yeah, let's see if that ends up coming into play. Yes, brings it in right away. Has the Psychic Fangs loaded, ready to go. Throws it just before the next charge attack. Doonebug wants to protect shield his Dugong, knowing that it's going to be his healthiest Pokemon. However, he's going to be stuck with a defense debuff at this point.
Yeah, this is a tricky situation. You want to clear your debuff, but you don't want to give extra energy for Reis's Dugong, which is about to come in. And also, Reis is up a shield. Doonebug throws the Icy Wind right away, knowing this is Reis's last Pokemon, maybe hoping that a Drill Run after this will be the formula to knocking out the Dugong.
No, I think he recognizes that, okay, if I land this Icy Wind, it's a permanent debuff. I'm now in range where 1 Drill Run's not going to knock out after the Psychic Fangs debuff. I think that you hang on to this, no problem. Reis, however, may get knocked out by the Drill Run. He does use the Protect Shield here.
Yeah, looks like that might have been charge attack priority, and Reis did lock in that Drill Run, but now, I mean, Doon has very low health on all of his Pokemon, because yes, you debuffed this Dugong, but look at how much this Drill Run is going to do. I'm not sure if you can hang on through that Psychic Fangs debuff. It's going to be very close. Yeah, I think he just needs to get to this Drill Run.
They're both single debuffed right now. Here we go. Charge attack priority. Doonebug gets to the Drill Run, and he's going to tie up this series 1-1. He's going to take out this Dugong. What a crucial, crucial play.
Well, I was concerned about that Psychic Fangs debuff, but Doonebug knew he was going to survive that with 1 HP to get off that final charged attack.
If Doonebug doesn't throw that Icy Wind right at the beginning of that Dugong matchup, I think he loses that matchup. So really, really great awareness there that he needs to get that utility out of the Dugong so that he can survive not only that Drill Run, but the subsequent Ice Shards as well.
Right, let's take another quick look at Doonebug's team. We've seen the Dugong, we've seen the Guzzlord, and we've seen the Shadow Drapion. That seems to be the formula for success. And I feel like Doon really needs like perfect alignment here to win this matchup. Like Reis has such a nice team composition advantage with the Shadow Steelix, which of course we are expecting in every single game. So Doon really needs to align, you know, the Guzzlord with the Drapion, or maybe get it onto the Steelix.
So if I think the story for day 2, not just in this matchup, but what we've seen throughout, especially the loser side of the bracket, is we see these very one-sided leads, and then we look at the end of the game and it was basically one fast attack or a charge attack priority that determined it. Don't forget, Doonebug started out with Guzzlord onto Drapion, which is about as one-sided of a matchup as you can have, and it still came down to charge attack priority at that end game there.
Yeah, it looks like Reis actually didn't even go for throwing the charge attack. Maybe he tried to predict that Doonebug would go switch into his Drapion to clear the debuff, but Doon, you know, just stayed in, threw the charge attack, maybe thinking he would win charge attack priority if it came down to it.
No, I think Reis knows that his Dugong loses charge attack priority at this stage, and he's looking for windows of opportunity and win conditions. And the win condition, just like you said, is Doonebug making a play to try and catch. So he's just going. He's not going to throw that anytime. He's going to try and get that farm down onto the energy dry Drapion, and then hope for something. His back was up against a wall.
All right, well, it's the Steelix again for Reis2Occasion, and a fantastic matchup. It's met with Doonebug's Fortress, but he quickly swaps out into the Shadow Drapion.
Yeah, we keep seeing these very one-sided leads, but then a lot of creativity in these middle and end games. Right now, Doonebug brings in the Drapion and is able to reach an Aqua Tail prior to Reis reaching his first charge attack. Reis will opt to let the Aqua Tail go, takes the Steelix down to almost 50% HP, but again, Steelix does hang on to 2 Aqua Tails.
All right, Breaking Swipe coming through here, and Doon's actually going to shield it up, maybe afraid of the fast attack pressure. He doesn't want to get too low in health, and also probably realizing that Reis doesn't have an answer to the Drapion.
I think realistically, Reis, if he wants, can no-shield this charge attack, and actually, if he lands this Breaking Swipe, farm down, he may need to use a Protect Shield as well. Doonebug, in the meantime, though, does throw this Aqua Tail. Reis lets it go, hangs on, still with some HP, and has the Breaking Swipe ready to go. Doonebug has already invested 1 Protect Shield. He uses the second Protect Shield here as well. Is there any reality he can poison sing down this Steelix?
Looks like he's going to try. These Thunderfangs are coming through, and actually the Steelix barely faints with the Breaking Swipe. Look at those triple resisted Poison Stings.
Yeah, I was gonna say, keep me honest here. Triple resisted Poison Stings, not a very hard-hitting fast attack to begin with. That's not something that we're probably ever gonna see again. However, Doonebug, with such low HP, unable to get more than 1 charge attack off. He now has the Fortress a little bit more freed up. It's going to be facing off versus this Jumpluff here. With access to Rock Tomb, he's going to be able to get some super effective damage off, but he is at a 2 shield deficit.
And not only that, Reis is able to fire off the acrobatics before Doonebug is able to debuff with the Rock Tomb. And this is looking very tough for Doonebug because the Fortress has a great matchup into these back 2 Pokemon, but look at how low it is.
Yeah, well, let's remind everyone, this is a best-of-5 series here, so whoever wins this matchup, they're not done yet. They're going to have to win 3 games in this best-of-5. Now, Doonebug has his Guzzlord lined up versus this Jumpluff, but keep in mind, these Fairy Winds are double super effective into the Guzzlord, and here comes the acrobatics.
Yeah, I think with the attack drop from the Rock Tomb, it doesn't do quite as much damage, but still, you know, a very respectable amount. And Reis throwing this charge attack here, you know, all he needs to do really is get through this Guzzlord, maybe land 1 more Aerial Ace on the Fortress, and I think the game is his.
Yeah, Reis in firm control of this matchup. Yes, will Doonebug reach another Rock Tomb? Of course, he does win charge attack priority. However, Reis2Occasion can probably clear this up just with this Jumpluff. Even if he doesn't, he still has that Dugong hanging out in the back as well.
That's right, charge attack priority, so Aerial Ace is going to come through. I mean, this Jumpluff is pretty debuffed here, but look at how low the Fortress is. I think this is going to be enough to take it out. And Reis moving forward with a 2-1 lead in this best-of-5.
That's right, he's 1 game away from making it to Grand Finals. That would be back-to-back regionals for Grand Finals. I think normally we see Reis coming in from the winner side of the bracket for Grand Finals, so this may be some uncharted territory for him. Doonebug, though, no stranger to Losers Finals. He's had some historic runs through the loser side of the bracket. Here in Vancouver, though, this is his first dip into Losers, though.
Actually, I just remembered another match. I think they've played in a Losers Finals before, maybe at the Arlington Regional a couple of years before, and I think Reis was in a great position, but Doonebug ended up reverse sweeping, so definitely don't want to count out Doonebug.
Yeah, no, that was a regional to remember. Don't forget, speaking of things to remember the time that you saw Drapion farm down a Shadow Steelix, triple resisted Poison Stings. However, down 2 shields, there was just no coming back for Doonebug, unfortunately there. Reis2Occasion able to use the jump left to great effect, not only take out that Guzzlord, but take out the Shadow Fortress as well.
Yeah, I don't think Doonebug quite realized how good his Fortress was in that matchup. So he invested 2 shields into his Drapion. If he had just tried to let it go and maybe hope that Fortress with 1 shield could try to sweep Reis's backline, that might have been a better option. But obviously, you know, you don't have perfect insight into Reis's team of 3.
It's interesting. I know we've talked so much about Reis's team in general, especially because we saw it featured very regularly in some of the other regional matchups, as well as featured for SS Thorn, right? So, you know, Reis considers himself kind of the architect of this team, and I think that because of that, a lot of the decision-making that goes into why, you know, which Pokemon am I using as responses, I think he kind of has an answer for everything, and we've seen just how fluent he feels with this team.
All right, game number 4 here. Reis finally brings in the Gastrodon. Fantastic lead for him. Doonebug has his Drapion.
All right, Gastrodon gets the first Mud Slap off, but quickly now the counter swap into the Shadow Steelix. Yes, it takes super effective damage from the drill runs, but you need 2 charge attacks to knock out. Doonebug recognizes that, goes for the Agassi Wind to start, get that utility debuff to begin with, knowing that you can then knock out a little bit later with the drill run.
All right, well, Psychic Fang's coming through here from Reis. Gonna drop the defense of Dugong. I think that kind of neutralizes the attack drop in terms of the damage that the Dugong is going to be taking from these Thunder Fangs.
Yeah, absolutely, well said. I mean, it's still an awkward situation for Reis2Occasion, right? Because this is charge attack priority right here. You can't really throw knowing that you lose that. What you are able to do is simply just shield this up and farm all the way down, especially with this Dugong now on the 5 Ice Shark cycle to its next charge attack as well. So Reis able to maintain swap and has a lot of energy, but he is debuffed and he's down a Protect Shield.
All right, Breaking Swipe coming through. Doonebug doesn't get the Poison Sting through, but this is going to deal just a little bit of damage to the Shadow Drapion. This is looking really, really tough for Doon. He doesn't have the alignment, and yes, he's up a shield, but Reis just came out of that matchup with so much energy.
Yeah, this is a really, really tough spot, and again, there's no like bracket reset or anything. This is win or go home for Doonebug at this point, and he does not have the alignment that he wants. He needs to desperately get the Steelix off the field. Again, oh, actually, it goes for a catch. Reis2Occasion bringing in the Shadow Drapion. Now Doonebug's going to have some opportunities to unleash these Aqua Tails, but still, this jump left is going to have so much that it has to do, and this Steelix still has HP.
Yeah, there might be a tiny window for Doonebug here, because now his jump left gets to avoid the bulk of the matchup with Drapion, because Doonebug is going to chip Reis's Drapion very, very low with these 2 Aqua Tails.
Okay, here is the Aqua Tail, though, for Reis2Occasion. Doonebug opts to use his Protect Shield to keep this Drapion on the field. He knows that he's going to need this Drapion to still do some work. His jump left is going to definitely have some good play into that Gastrodon, but he needs to figure out how he's going to remove that Steelix from the field, too.
I think Doonebug is trying to zoom in on the HP bar of his Drapion, thinking, can I survive 2 more Poison Stings to get to this next Aqua Tail? And I don't think he was.
No.
So he actually switches out there into his jump left, and now this crunch is going to come through.
Yeah, this is crucial for Reis because the Gastrodon isn't going to be able to do too much into the Shadow Jump Up. Shadow Jump Up is not running Energy Ball, so that makes things a little bit safer. Here comes the Steelix, though. With Doonebug locked into this Jump Up right now, the Psychic Fangs is going to be sticking around for a while, specifically the attack debuff, or sorry, rather the defense debuff that it applies.
Yeah, Psychic Fangs land. I mean, if you're Doonebug, what do you do here? You overfarm just a little bit, throw this Acrobatics, that's a ton of energy lost to take out this Steelix, and then yes, there's a Gastrodon with not much fast attack pressure for you, but I don't even think 1 Acrobatics 1 hits.
No.
And there's still this Drapion.
Yeah, but look at the switch clock for Doonebug. Is he able to get to a charge attack and maybe make a catch? I just don't think he has enough HP. Even Mud Slaps might be enough now at this range.
Yeah, Aqua Tail coming through. Doonebug's just going to let it go, and he has his own Drapion, but it's nowhere close to what it needs to do anything in the rest of this game.
A tough end to that game for Doonebug. Looks like the trainers are still sitting down at this point and having some conversations with the judges. But as it stands right now, that would be a 3-1 victory for Reis2Occasion.
That's right, and just to remind you of the stakes for this matchup, this is the top 3. Whoever loses this match is going to end their tournament in 3rd place, and whoever wins is going to go to the grand finals and have a chance to become the Vancouver regional champion.
Yeah, you can't really leave anything on the table at this point. Any opportunities that you can have for another chance or for, you know, a win condition, you want to capitalize on every single one of those. So what we did see a little bit earlier was Doonebug, when he brought his Shadow Drapion into that Steelix, I believe, was unable to get a Poison Sting through, and with how quickly the Drapions generate generates energy. I mean, one Poison Sting can be the difference between reaching a charge attack and not.
Now we need to await some confirmation for whether that's exactly what Doonebug is wondering about. But, I mean, to me, that matchup looked pretty clear-cut as far as what happened when the teams were locked in. Reis had all the alignment he needed. He had so much energy with his Steelix coming out of that middle matchup. But I think it is the Poison Sting that was lost when Drapion came in that Doonebug is wondering about.
I mean, what you can definitely tell is there's no love lost between these trainers. I think you could see that both trainers actually recognize that moment right there and, you know, feel a little frustrated on each other's behalf that they're, you know, having to deal with some of those frustrations. But huge mutual respect between these two trainers. I think that they both probably put each other on their own personal Pokemon Go Mount Rushmore when it comes to battlers.
Now, we didn't get a chance to actually talk about their achievements before the match started, but in case you're just coming in, you're new to the Pokemon Go streams, these are two of the titans of Pokemon Go PvP. Doonebug has the most regional championships of any Pokemon Go player, and that's at 4, and Reis just behind with 3 regional wins.
And there's a lot on the line specifically for this season as well. Reis wants to be the only trainer that has a regional win in each competitive season. Meanwhile, Doonebug wants to kind of break the streak where he hasn't been able to reach those grand finals and get that regional title back under his belt. As a reminder, he won 3 regionals in 1 competitive season, and he wants to try and repeat that success here in the back half of the 2025 season.
It wasn't just 3 regional wins in 1 competitive season. It was like a span of, I think, less than 5 months where he won 3 regionals. It just felt like he was unstoppable.
It was like 3 out of 5 events. It was absolutely wild. And I think there was also a top 4 finish and an IC.
Top 2.
Top 2 and an IC throughout that as well. So, I mean, that was one of the best runs that we've ever seen. It's right up there with some of Axon's runs and Wadaj's runs, at least for North American trainers.
Oh, absolutely. And for both of these trainers, I think what they're looking for is, you know, of course I mean, at this point, they're both definitely returning to the World Championships. They want to go really far there. That's kind of the only thing missing from their trophy case at this point.
Yeah, success at the IC level for both of these trainers. If I'm not mistaken, they both have a 2nd place finish for ICs. But, you know, obviously while an IC win would be that next stage, I mean, everyone's goalpost at this stage, trainers that are regularly top cutting and making these grand finals or losers finals, yeah, the goalpost is world champion.
Yeah, Reis, I believe, was top 32 at the most recent World Championships. So he's definitely made day 2 there, but, you know, not making it as far as, you know, a trainer of his caliber could potentially expect to make it. Dune, of course, right up there with Reis in terms of where they stand in, you know, North America.
So we talked about this earlier in some of the disputes, but what's challenging is when we see these lost turns in the middle game or in the early game, because again, you're having to kind of extrapolate and make some potentially assumptions for how that lost energy, lost damage could impact several things down the line. It's almost a domino effect. Like I said, if this happens, then this happens. If that happens, then this happens. And then this could happen. It's almost kind of like an evolutionary tree for a spider web of all these different possible outcomes. You're going to have to be Doctor Strange trying to figure out which is the most likely outcome.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially for a fast attack, right? There's 2 things at play. There's damage and there's energy. So, you know, you think about the damage. Was that impactful for what was lost on Reis' side? Probably not. It was just Poison Sting. For the energy, that's probably what matters more with a Poison Sting. It's 9 energy for Poison Sting. It's only 4 or 5 Poison Stings to a charged attack.
All right, well, I see some nods happening here. However, neither trainer has stood up at this point, so it seems like we are still in this review process. I mean, for either of these trainers here, they have to just be anticipating that there's another battle. I mean, this is a decisive game. If this match goes in the way of Reis, well, that's it. Reis moves on to the grand finals, and the tournament is over for Doonebug. However, if there is a rematch, there is still an opportunity for Doonebug to then essentially reverse sweep, just win 2 additional matches, and then he will be the one moving on to the grand finals.
Yeah, and, you know, we talked a little bit about momentum, right? But, I mean, a review like this that spans 5, maybe 10 minutes while the judges are trying really hard to get such a crucial game correct, you know, Reis has been kind of on a tear. He's lost his first game all day, besides, of course, the match with Dapper Discs, and, you know, that would kind of give Dune a little bit of time to mentally reset.
Yeah, it's a momentum disruptor. That's what we can really call it for sure. You know, there can be disruption in your mindset, disruption in your momentum, and yeah, that could be key for Reis. All right, well, we're still waiting on these trainers we're still waiting on the outcome, but as you can see on your screen, it seems like there is going to be a rematch here. Yeah, 2 wins for Reis2Occasion. Doonebug is get another opportunity here. He needs to win 2 consecutive games. Meanwhile, Reis is going to try and win a repeat of this game number 4.
All right, well, this is another decisive game, match point from Reis' perspective if he wins this next game. Like we said, going on to the grand finals. As for Doonebug, he still needs to win 2 games to do that. And, you know, again, I think this is a pretty disadvantageous matchup overall for Doonebug, but he's done a great job of staying in it so far.
Reset, exhale, take a big deep breath. You got to lock in here now. You are at the grand finals. As Doonebug, you have to win this next game. That's all that matters. You got to figure out a way. Maybe bring, you either have to think, I got to bring my safe Pokemon that I'm flexible with, or maybe you have to think, do I take a risk? For Reis, I mean, we've seen Reis typically lean on several Pokemon that he feels most comfortable with, but maybe he tries to get one step ahead of Doonebug and bring something that's going to be a surprise that could be his key, his surprise key to the grand finals.
Well, I think his key is still going to be the Steelix. It's all about what he's built around it and how Doon is going to be able to neutralize the Steelix.
Could we potentially see more Dugong from Doonebug? I think that would be a good bring. Again, Golisopod is always lurking there on Reis2Occasion's team, though. It's something that he's liked a lot this tournament, and it's been kind of his standout Pokemon. These trainers are locked in, so we're rematching game number 4. It's the Shadow Steelix again, and yes, it is met by the Dugong.
All right, well, Doon's got some of his best answers to the Steelix in the back, quickly swaps in the Drapion, and like we've seen so many times in this tournament, not a great answer on Reis' side, but he actually catches the Aqua Tail.
That is a huge catch for Reis2Occasion. Now you have energy on your Steelix that can still go a lot of places, and you've caught all the energy from this Drapion. Meanwhile, you've done 4 Thunderfangs as well, so you're in a great position now as Reis2Occasion, where one charge attack is going to threaten to knock out, whether it's Drill Run or Icy Wind.
Exactly. Doonebug gonna throw this Crunch. Doesn't threaten to knock out the Dugong, but does do a healthy, respectable amount of damage. As for Reis, he's gonna overfarm just a little bit before throwing this Icy Wind.
What do you do as Doonebug, though? How are you going to take this Steelix off the field? You need to get energy somewhere on your Dugong, and it's not like you can farm down at all. So, yes, you do get this Aqua Tail. You've done 2 Aqua Tails and a Crunch into this Dugong. I guess you have to try and farm down now with your Guzzlord?
I think you can try with your Dugong because, yeah, I mean, the fact that your Ice Shards do so little means you're going to get a lot of farm, but Reis sees it coming, comes straight back in with the Steelix, and Doon actually stays in, going to throw this Icy Wind, and, I mean, I'm not sure if he's going to switch out because then you're just going to get immediately breaking swiped on your Guzzlord.
Okay, but we have to look at what's in the back right now. Drapion into Guzzlord. This could be disastrous for Reis2Occasion. Yes, he still has this Steelix healthy, but how long and how much is he willing to commit to this Steelix?
Well, I mean, Doon has to get rid of this Steelix first. These Ice Shards are neutral, and look at how quickly these Thunderfangs are adding up. But Doonebug already had another charge attack here, and pulling a shield from Reis.
All right, let's take a look at the counts for Doonebug's Dugong. I believe that is going to be on the 5 cycle. Actually, a quick swap now brings in the Guzzlord, maybe trying to catch a Psychic Fangs. Reis2Occasion is ready, though. I like the swap, though, because this ensures that Doonebug is not going to be stuck in a matchup where he's permanently debuffed.
All right, Breaking Swipe is super effective and lands. Reis with a quick swap into the Dugong to throw out this Icy Wind. He knows that the Guzzlord is going to be locked in for quite a while. He's also going to be able to get some super effective Ice Shard damage, and I think he's just going to try to gradually chip down this Guzzlord.
Yeah, but these okay, yes, you are single stage attack debuffed as the Guzzlord right now. That helps out this Drapion. Do you just bring the Steelix back in to absorb some energy and force him to try to go for Crunch instead of... Yeah. Okay, it actually has the Breaking Swipe ready to go as well. This is only super effective damage still remaining that Reis can throw into the Guzzlord. I don't think it's enough to knock out, but still, nonetheless, he does use the final Protect Shield.
Yeah, I think you have to shield there. I mean, the Drapion is in the back. All of that damage is going to be resisted, but, I mean, the Poison Stings are going to add up, and I really think that Reis is just going to have to try and chip down this Guzzlord very, very slowly. You know, fast attacks, resisted charge attacks, and that's going to be the key to success. But Doonebug does still have a very healthy, well, a little bit of a healthy Dugong.
Drapion needs to get to 2 charge attacks into this Guzzlord. Maybe a Crunch and Poison Stings will do it. I don't know how much energy this Dugong still has remaining. Reis2Occasion lets the Dragon Claw go. That's going to take this Drapion down to roughly half HP. Here comes the Crunch from the Shadow Drapion. I don't think it's enough to knock out the Guzzlord, but it is going to put it dangerously low. I expect to see a quick swap out here at some point, unless Doonebug can get to 1 more charge attack.
All right, he's going to try to force some energy out of this Drapion because he's threatening to get to a charge attack, but Reis knows the count. He throws the Aqua Tail. This is resisted damage, and now it's going to come down to whether Doonebug is able to either Dragon Tail down or reach a Dragon Claw before Reis reaches a charge attack. Yes, he's one away from the Dragon Claw. Oh,
yeah,
but I think Reis has a shield.
Gets to the Dragon Claw, but like you said, so Reis2Occasion still has a Protect Shield. Doonebug, despite getting a second chance, is unable to capitalize. Reis2Occasion uses the Drapion to knock out the Guzzlord, and he's going to be going to Grand Finals where he will face off versus Adonis Actual.
I think that's match number 9 between these storied rivals. Such a great relationship between these two.